What's up, Honesty with Comedy podcast listeners? This is a call to a dead end road, part two. Just my true, authentic experience currently. I do talk about how God led me through a lot of trials and tribulations in life, and I'm giving glory to Him for the things that He has helped me overcome. That is all true. I would not, make that up. And I'm not trying to hide no bipolar moments, child, at all. I'm just telling my story. So this is about the spiritual, where I am currently. And they always says, God don't give you more than you can bear. So maybe this is something that He knows that I can bear, and He bared the responsibility on me, even though I did not want this. But anyway, I'm still alive, child. Okay. And I have been absolutely disobedient, so I ain't gonna even lie or front. I take accountability. But anyway, so after going broke, I didn't understand things kind of went downhill because not realizing I was going to end up struggling again significantly, right? So after going broke, I ended up needing some help because the money that I had saved, it would have supplied me and stabilized me, even my housing income, until I got established into my new state, finally on my own. Okay. But a girl was back struggling, but resourceful. So I felt like, okay, now this electricity is about to get cut off. By the time the Lord helped me find a job, that job chased me down, which is what I figured God was leading that job to me. Like, you're going to need this, which I ultimately did. But by the time that job came, it was already time to be evicted from the first place, y'all. The first one. I've never been evicted or been down a slope like this, okay? But so this is so crazy. So after going broke and stuff, I needed help because my electricity was going $170. I mind you, I had enough to pay $1,500 in rent for a few months, But then just a few months after moving and going broke, I didn't even have $170 to keep the electricity on in a month or two. So I ended up having to call around like churches. Mind you, I'm new out in the new state that I was in. So the resources was, I didn't know, non-existence. But I knew based on growing up and being resourceful to call around to churches, 211, first call for help. Y'all can do that if you ever get in a bind, right? They have resources available. But I felt like that's what God was telling me, like, okay, call around. So I ended up calling around. They gave me some suggestions to call around to some churches. I called around to some churches. Now, I figure, a few of those churches was people, and one trying, they said, nope. And then talking about an application, and they gonna take 5 weeks to process. Let me tell you something. We be paying these tithes, boo-boo, because I was paying tithes too. I was giving to the homeless as well, but they were shisty, okay? But ultimately, this one church that I didn't even know, because I didn't even go outside yet, you know what I'm saying? This was rather quickly. I ended up calling. But when I call, she can hear that I was in distress, like, hey, there's electricity back here. Could somebody please help me? I ain't ashamed of nothing. That's why I'm speaking on it. So, um, it was a church. So I left a message. Then she ultimately called me back. It was just something about when she called me back. I kind of had this feeling spiritually like she was going to help me, right? And it was literally that day I needed it. And so when she returned, I told her my situation, and she was like, I'm just a pastoral pastor or whatever, there. I'll talk to the secretary there and see what funds we have available, and I'll give you a call back. I felt like the Lord was telling me, like, she's going to be the one to help you. That's what I felt. Literally, maybe like 5-10 minutes later, she calls back. Mind you, this lady don't know me from a can of paint. Never met me or anything. So she called me back, and she was like, yeah, we're going to write you a check for the amount, $170, and then you can come get it, and you can drop it off to the electricity company out here. I didn't know what that was either, but still, I was so appreciative of it. And then come to find out what's even crazy, it was 5 minutes from where I actually had my first place. 5 minutes, this church. So I ran there, drove there really quick, and got it, right? She gave it to me. God bless her. And then she gave it to me. I go and try to find an electricity company. They not even where they were supposed to be. You hear me? So ultimately, they needed to be mailed. So she was so nice to call three-way and speak to them and tell them that she's helping me, and that could they postpone the disconnection, knowing that this check was going to be mailed to them, right? So they ended up doing it and keeping it on. Then it got paid. So after she did that for me, I was so grateful. And, of course, I'm not the type of person that just likes to take stuff, or I don't take advantage of people or take people for granted. Stop doing that, because God sees all. You know what I'm saying? So he knew that. So I'm telling her, when I get on my feet and whatnot, I will pay it back. And after that, she eventually started reaching out, inviting me to attend service. I avoided it at first. I wasn't comfortable, and knowing she helped me and everything, but it was almost like a sense of obligation. But not only a sense of obligation, I felt in my spirit that God was like, no, you need to go. So I ended up going, and that church was so kind. The pastor was a female, and she wasn't a pastoring. I don't know what that's called, but she was in the process of becoming one officially, right? Being ordained. I knew nothing of that at all. But she was so kind, her and her family, and her husband. I went to that, and the people were so welcoming and inviting. So I eventually started to go more often, and really started to grow a relationship with them, attending the Bible study and the services. And it was just so comfortable and natural, right? So I really appreciated that, all of that. And then I started my job and stuff. But by the time, like I said, I started this job, rent was already behind and everything. So it was already in the process of bye bye. Okay, shawty, bye, bye bye. So I'm like confused and understanding, Lord, what is going on? This is the reason why you blessed me with an opportunity to be able to move to this new state. Because even in the Bible, I come to realize, sometimes the Lord would have you be removed from where you're most comfortable with, when you are called, and it's called isolation season. This is stuff that I was learning along the way, and day by day. So having to go through all of that and trying to hustle and DoorDash and this and that, I had to end up finding a new place. I'm new to this state, so I didn't even know where to look, okay, at all. And I didn't have enough money saved up either, at that time, because I just started. And so after going to the church, I'm losing my mind trying to find a new place, trying to even find money to even apply, because them application fees ain't no joke. So after a while, and it's getting closer to eviction day and everything, that sheriff's gonna come in and start throwing away your stuff. I just moved in, so I bought new stuff. Me and my two cats, boo boo. Yeah, we was in a cookie. We was in a frisky. So after all that, I don't know. I ended up negotiating. Like, you guys can have my car, you can have my lease, if y'all could please help me. It was really humbling, because it's not me, you know what I'm saying? And I had to get rid of that pride and ego. I was trying to find it on my own, but it wasn't working out that way. Trying to get title loans, payday loans, or whatever, it wasn't working out that way. A sister credit wasn't where it was credited. You hear me? So that's another thing. We need to work on that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So it was a no, 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 no. Yeah. Saying it wasn't no yeah, 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 yeah. You feel me? What's that, Destiny Child? But anyway, something told me in my spirit that I should ask the pastor if they can help me out, and see what can they do, right? Oh, that was hard. It was so hard. But the crazy thing is, it was in my spirit. and I had to, and I did. Next one.